Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here this week. It is great to have you along. If we haven't met yet, my name is Josh Pontius. I'm the pastor serving you here at Community Grace Lutheran Church right here in Peoria, Arizona. And we are in the midst of a message series called Mission and Ministry Together. We're talking about some of our mission partners, some of the people that we have connected with over the years and that we have been a part of. And we're talking about the Lutheran Church of Rwanda today. Again, a special thanks to Tom Egham for coming and talking last week from Hope for Kids International. We hope that message reached you well and understanding the incredible implications that this thing of doing mission together can have. And as a church, we've long known that we can accomplish much more when we work together towards common purposes than when we try to go it alone. This is true for us as individuals, just being part of organizations, but it's also true for us as a congregation. Coming together in common purpose with other organizations help us to do more than we could if we just try to do things alone. The Lutheran Church in Rwanda has been a long time ministry partner for Community Grace. As a matter of fact, its origins begin even before our official start as a congregation. And trying to put all those details into my own words, really, I don't think could do it justice. So I want to hear straight from the man himself, Pastor Tim, our founding pastor, who had this to say. One of the great joys and privileges we've had as a congregation, one that began 2 months before our first worship service in 2005, has been our partnership with our friends at the Lutheran Church in Rwanda. Over the years, Community of Grace has made it possible for our friends there in extraordinary circumstances to plant churches, to build worship centers, and bring the love of Jesus to a country that had been torn apart by violence and hatred. Now, 21 years on, that partnership continues to bring grace to our friends there. Knowing that they have brothers and sisters cheering them on from Peoria, Arizona, gives them the faith to continue the important work that they do. My prayer is that the partnership and friendship grows in the years to come. Good on you, Grace, from our founding pastor, Tim Wright. Over the years, relationships developed, friendships formed, needs were expressed, and this incredible partnership wasn't just born, but it flourished. And so much incredible ministry has happened in Rwanda because of this long-term partnership that we have. These days, we most commonly hear those requests, those greatest needs, those opportunities for partnership in the form of emails back and forth, Zoom calls that we get to jump on. I even get WhatsApp texts and video chats at the strangest times because of time zone differences from our friends there, because it's an important thing to keep in communication. And we've been able to build and renovate worship centers, as Pastor Tim mentioned in his remarks earlier. We've also helped partner organizations build and staff medical facilities, cover the costs of pastors and evangelists that are laser focused on bringing real, authentic gospel messages of hope and love in a country that has been long divided and fraught with violence. Our current board president has recently shared this message when reflecting on his own visit from just last year, April 2025. He wrote this: Rwanda is a beautiful country with very visible disparities of wealth, something that is a bit more hidden in suburban United States. Many walk to where they need to go and to have to carry whatever they need. Others have bicycles and sell rides, while some have cars. We met wonderful people with a very strong commitment to the community. A prime example is the car that Grace helped purchase for Pastor Eddie. It's also shared with the people, the community, for people who need a ride to the doctor, to the hospital. The community focus and the service to others is something that I still think about, and that's from our board president here at Grace, Colby Voorhees. And the truth is there's always more to be done. Truth be told, more than likely, our work and our partnership can never truly be finished. But the incredible people of the Lutheran Church of Rwanda and its partners are still up to incredible things in spite of really serious challenges. They're hard at work building and supplying a permanent seminary to train its pastors in the Lutheran tradition in their own country, without having to borrow facilities from other denominations or having to travel to neighboring countries in order to let them actually raise up leaders right there at home. One of my good friends from Nehemiah Parish, Pastor Eddie came to us and said, I have to go to Uganda to continue my schooling, but it costs some money. Can you help us out? And of course. And that's what he's doing. He's preparing to do that, to fulfill these new educational requirements that are actually coming from his government. And we're happy to help cover those costs for the year so that his continued growth would not have any kind of negative impacts on his family. There are, to this day, more buildings that need renovation or even relocation. And in a country that is still healing from a genocide that took the lives of between 500,000 and 1 million people, left between 250 and 500,000 women bearing the mental and physical scars of sexual assault, and countless other people who have dealing with, to this day, bodies that are scarred and minds that are still hurting. The Lutheran Church in Rwanda continues to be a beacon of hope, a beacon of healing, of community building, and of spreading the good news of a God that seeks to show love, compassion, and care to all. And they continue to do so at a time that is absolutely perilous for the church. The government there in Rwanda has instituted new rules and regulations for religious institutions and its leaders over the past year and a half. And it's because there have been so many people who have called themselves religious leaders of all types, and many claiming to speak on behalf of the church and of Christ, and they've swindled and stolen entire life savings and fortunes and incomes of people who have so little just to enrich themselves. And so in response, there's new requirements of governments, new stuff for the structures, for the buildings, how the buildings are owned, educational requirements like the ones that my friend Pastor Eddie are dealing with right now. And all of our partners have already met all of those requirements or are nearly there. And yet, even to this day, nearly all of the worshiping communities of the Lutheran Church in Rwanda are closed. They can't worship. They can't have Bible studies. They can be community for each other in their homes, but they can't do most of their official functions because of this bureaucratic mess that has been caused by awful people in other places. That's kind of one of the reasons why you haven't heard many recent big projects or proposals. They couldn't do much with our funds right now, even if we were able to send any. And yet in that place, hope prevails. Every pastor and leader of that church believe deeply that they are called not just to be church for themselves and for their own members, but for the sake of their neighbor and for the sake of the gospel that they preach to the entire world, using the instructions that Jesus himself leaves at the end of Matthew's gospel. And you've heard this one from me before. It's one of my favorites. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshiped him, but they doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. And I got to tell you, my Rwandan friends take this seriously. They are all about teaching people for the first time about Jesus, of welcoming them into Christ's family through baptism, or of reteaching them. They're big on evangelism. They want to preach the true risen Christ, and it's something we could definitely learn a lot from them about. And next month, they get to install and consecrate their third bishop since their founding in 1994, Reverend Prince Kalisa, a man that I came to know very well on some very, very long van trips during my trip to Rwanda across his beautiful country. A wonderful man of faith, a wonderful leader, and just a good friend and tour guide showing off everything that his country has to offer. And he believes deeply in the kind of gospel that liberates and doesn't hold people in fear. He believes in unification under biblical values of loving and serving one's neighbor, whoever they might be. The truth is that we are blessed as a congregation and we live in a blessed nation. Our call has always been to help those who are less fortunate. And we have done so much of that with our friends in Rwanda. But as often the case, the relationship goes both ways. They help us in incredible ways. They've helped me in important ways. Just me seeing their resilience in the face of struggles that most of us couldn't even begin to imagine gives me pause. What does that resilience look like? It makes me wonder how we might react in some of their situations. How would we act towards our neighbors if their families had been part of violence against us or against our families? How could our church that meets in this beautiful facility that does these incredible things, how would they react if the government just showed up tomorrow and said, you can't do this anymore until you fulfill this giant list of requirements, some of which we already meet, or maybe we all, and it's just bureaucratic nonsense that's keeping us from moving forward? How would we deal with that? How would we experience that hardship of not being able to do the things that we're so used to doing? How could we handle building codes that change from day to day? I can't even imagine what Jeff would be going through if we had to go through all that stuff. I would hope that our good friends would be just as generous with their wisdom and experience as with us as we have been with our dollars towards them, helping them to teach us what it means to be church in the face of true adversity that we could never understand, what it means to be communities with one another when our main gathering space couldn't be used. And my prayer is that we might, as community of grace, that we could still live into that incredible mission and vision of bringing God's message of bold, reckless grace to the world, no matter what. And I'm confident, because what I have seen from our friends and our partners there, that we could do the same. That is very good news, my friends, and thank you to my friends and partners in the Lutheran Church of Rwanda. Amen.